Hey guys, thanks for being here this morning. Obviously, reflecting back on Friday night's loss, disappointed. We had the opportunities there, and I challenged everybody in the building, starting with myself, to be better. We didn't execute in all three phases for 4 quarters like we said we needed to against a very, very good Tulane team. And the nice thing is there's fixable issues that we can get solved, and we will get solved. And the players buy in and understand what it's going to take in order to find a way to win the next game is there. They understand they're going to work diligently and with great focus this week in order to find a way to improve ourselves. Obviously, nobody's happy. We're 4-2. 2 of our losses occurring against 2 top 25 teams. But we've got to find a way to improve and fix a lot of the things that we continue to make mistakes on. Looking forward ahead, obviously, very excited about this game against UAB. We know it's going to be a great atmosphere and a beautiful new stadium, and we welcome them to our conference. So this is going to be a great challenge with what they're able to bring to the table. They're top in the country, I think top 10 in the country in turnovers gained. I think top 5 and fumbles recovered, if not number 1 in the country, and then their quarterback is top 5 in the country in completion percentage. So we got our hands full. It's the next game, so it's the most important one. Our focus is now 1,000% on UAB and finding a way to go out there and execute at a high level. On a couple notes, as you guys are going to ask about injuries, I'll go ahead and get ahead of it. Blake Watson's day-to-day. And then, our kicker, Seth Morgan, who you guys saw at the beginning of the season, he's out for the year. Okay, so he's having season-ending surgery, so he's done for the year. Tristan Vandenberg's still day-to-day as well. And I think that is about where we stand on the injury standpoint. I wanted to be as forthright as I could be on those things.
So
Go ahead.
So looking ahead at UAB, what areas do you think need to turn around and for you guys to be prepared for them?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to play a clean game. We've not, the turnovers, obviously, one was off a drop and the other was just an errant throw. And we've got to get those cleaned up and then take advantage of when we have the opportunities. I think we had 3 dropped interceptions, against a draft pick quarterback that were truly in our hands. We've got to be able to make those type of plays. And then, for us, we've got to clean up just some of the things that we're doing. You watch us and you go put it on, just like any team in college football. You watch a certain series of our offense, you're like, wow, man, they're humming on all cylinders. They look great. And then you watch another series and it's just, wow, where did that come from or that? And a lot of times it's an individual mistake and it's no different defensively. And I'd say it all the time when, defensive football, if one guy makes the wrong fit or a missed tackle, it can lead to a 5-yard run or explosive run or, even a pass, where a defensive back may be in good position, but now he's got to find a way to make a play on the ball. So those are things we've got to get fixed. And the only way we know how, obviously, is we watch the film of our previous games and our mistakes, but by going out there and practicing diligently and finding ways to improve. But I did, Frank, I challenged everybody. It started with me. And I just said, hey, we've got to all find ways. And, and I mentioned this post-game. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. Let's just call it what it is. We've got to execute better. And I think our players understood that, especially those that play significant snaps for us, and excited to find ways to get out there and improve. But we're going to have to bring our A game on the road versus UAB.
Ryan, you said Andres Fox would be handled internally. Will he play this week?
So I can't speak until the conference comes out with what's going to happen. But let's just say this, there will be some type of suspension.
What with starts with Seth in particular, 1 for 10 this past week? What do you guys see in film, prep? What is it about his difficulties to get it going?
Yeah, I think you go back to obviously our 2 slow starts have really been the last 2 games, truly, right? Obviously, we can look back and say, well, in this one you didn't know that. The Boise game we had, the second play of the game was a dropped for a 16-yard that hit the receiver square in the chest. It was a drop. And then the next drive, complete missed block by no lineman gave up. So, I look at that game. In this past game, you're right. Seth did not start as fast as we wanted to, or especially just looked errant on his throws. And, sometimes it's got to look at it and say, okay, are these the plays that Seth likes? and that he feels comfortable with. I mean, maybe he feels more comfortable with a certain package, or hey, maybe we got to get the run game established first in order to open up for him, because he is our quarterback and we've got great faith in him. And so, well, we look back and say, okay, is it schematically something we can do differently? Is it, hey, what puts him in? And you play these home games, and we've been so fortunate with great atmospheres, especially at our last 2 home games. Is it's okay to we already know Seth is calm by nature, but like we don't sometimes behind the helmet you never know, right? We got some of our guys that are amped up, sweating, and calm down. We don't need you. I love the fact they got their hair's on fire, but sometimes you want your quarterback take a deep breath, right? See what you're seeing, and do that. And then part of it also is, I've said this a couple weeks ago, is the opponents we're seeing, they're always giving us something a little bit unique that we hadn't seen on film. Obviously, credit to Tulane. They started, coming off a bye week. They played some more Tampa 2 than we'd seen in the past. In fact, that they hadn't shown on film. And those are the things we've got to digest. And I think what happened, same deal in the boys game, right? Like, okay, here's something different. Now it's our job as coaches to figure out what's going on and get it to the players, and then you're able to see those swings, whether it's in points or whatever, or maybe even the quarterback having the ability to calm down, or everybody for that matter. I think the offense as a whole, right, not just quarterback, has started pretty darn slow. And again, to Frank's question, let's find a way to fix that.
Along those lines, you've adjusted every time this year. You've fallen behind 4 straight games, so you've adjusted. You figured it out, and once you got that lead, you put the hammer down. You had that lead. You got the touchdown to start the third, so you're up 21-10. So you've adjusted very well. You were able to throw the ball over the middle of the field. What did they do? Because they probably adjusted back, that you weren't able to capitalize, and they went ahead and scored 20.
Need 11 moving parts to work in the same direction, and we've got to put our guys in better positions to go out there and execute.
You talked about after the game the defense not getting upfield on 3rd down, especially in the second half. When you watched the film back, was there kind of an overarching theme of why that happened?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and Jonah. That's I don't know the exact percentage. It was maybe around 56% was their 3rd down percentage success rate for Tulane, and that's way too high. You look at it, you get them in a 3rd and 9, get a hit on the quarterback, he shakes off, goes, and gets the 1st down, right? And it's varying reasons, just almost like I was just mentioning to Greg, is like a missed tackle here, right? Or not making a play on the ball. We're there in coverage, but just not the ability to knock the pass down or get the interception. A misfit by a linebacker, or a D lineman, not playing. He's getting moved out of his gap, and so all those things you look at, it just okay. It's this guy on this play. It's this guy on this play, and then executing what we need to, and I think that's the nature of it. And I know that's a very bland answer, but there's no magic formula. And I say going into that game and going into every game from here on out, there's not going to be all right, we're going to create this new scheme that's going to all of a sudden make us a dominant team. No, we've got to find ways to execute, and I've got to find ways, right, starting obviously yesterday, but then tomorrow's practice, of making sure that we are fundamentally sound over and over and over, and just be able to line up and do it. And look, teams are going to make plays. That's the way it is. They've credit Tulane. UAB is going to make some plays, but how many and where do those occur, right? And and that's our job, is to get off the field on third downs, maybe get a better pass rush. Which I always say this. People always say, "Well, you got to rush the quarterback." Well, rushing the quarterback helps coverage. No different. Coverage helps the pass rush. So those guys work hand in hand, and those are obviously rooms for improvement for us on the defensive side that will help us get off the ball on third down.
What was the tone of the room when you got the guys in yesterday?
Yeah, they were still pissed, which is what you want. Their eyes were locked in. They understood, because sometimes, after the Missouri loss, I said, listen, guys, we've got, it wasn't a beat down. It was just, we're close and we can do a lot of things, stay positive, because we've got, after this game, it was pretty harsh truth. And I told them, the hardest thing for any individual to hear sometimes is the truth. It's really hard for 18 to 23-year-old males to hear the truth, especially because everybody wants to be patted on the butt, and they've been getting, hey, good job, you guys are doing great. If you do this, you're going to have this set up. And I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you, and we all need to hear the truth, and I'm going to be truthful with myself. I look in the mirror every day and tell myself the truth. Sometimes I don't like what I've got to tell myself, but man, that's the nature of it. That's where we're at. And I think the guys appreciate that, because, okay, Ryan, give us what do we need to hear? And some guys, I called them out, and I showed some film, and it may have hurt some feelings, but we talk about here, it's the standards over the feelings every single day of the week. And this is the way we're going to do things. This is how we have to do them. This is how we have to execute. This is the effort needs to look like. And they shook their head and said, okay, you're right. But it's good to just talk about it in a meeting. Now, can we put it into action? Because a lot of coaches come up with these rah-rah, win one for the Gipper deals. And if it's not put into action by the players and our great leadership that we have, then it means nothing. But the players were phenomenal. They said, okay, we got it. And you continue to hear the words, around the building this morning and even, yesterday out there at practice. All right, we're putting the game behind us. We learned from it. And now 100% of our focus has to be on UAB, because they're a very good football team. It's the next game. It's the most important one. We've got to find a way to go out there and be better.
Just to follow up on that real quick, so the message you gave them was kind of like, this is our standard and we're not meeting it. Would that be kind of the
what we put on film was not good enough. Yeah, absolutely. And anytime even when you win a game, I always say it's easier to point out mistakes when you win, because everybody's feeling good about themselves. And when you call somebody out, yeah, you're right. When you lose, not only you're licking your wounds, then you're getting called out on, hey, this isn't the expectation. And it goes for everybody, right? I'm the first one, I shoulder the blame all the time. Coaches a lot of times will throw their kids on their bus. No, we've all got to take the blame on this stuff. And they understood that, and I just said, hey, here's our standard. And we do it with everything, right? Same deal. 2 weeks ago, I looked at the study hall report, and we had 4 guys who were 3 minutes late for study hall. That is not our standard. And so our guys understood that, and being able to show them, hey, here's the expectations for us. And it's not the expectations that, man, we should have gone undefeated this year and played for a national championship. It's literally we had the opportunity to win a football game, and we didn't. And it'll be no different this week. And, I get it, man. I want people to have these grand plans. I want to talk about this still being a special year. I want to talk about our end goals, right? Our hopes, goals, and dreams are still in sight. But that I want everybody to have that in their back of their mind, somewhere back here. But now, guess what? We've got to find ways, and my challenge to them is just focusing on today and the now. And that's really, really hard. It's hard for anybody in society now. I can only imagine what's on social media. I can only imagine what's going on. So then now you're asking these young men who've got a lot on their plate already, just focus on today. Focus on Sunday. Focus on this meeting. Focus on this film. Focus on this practice. Tonight, get some rest, hydrate the right way, do your schoolwork. Then Monday, okay, your off day. Can your focus just be on football, your faith, your family, and your academics? Cool, can you do that? Then, and so that's where I've kind of now narrowed it down, Mark, which I'm sure a lot of these head coaches talk about, hey, if we win out, we do that. I can't right now. We're just so focused, and I hope that's the hope, right, is that you can just be so focused on being great and having an awesome Tuesday practice. And I know you've heard coaches say this stuff all the time, but now let's see if we can live it. And I'm pushing that down, and say, okay, let's go out tomorrow and have a really good Tuesday practice, because if we have a really good Tuesday practice, it gives us a chance to be really good on Saturday. And so we've got to, and part of that's that preparation, and that's on me to make sure that we're doing what we need to not just Saturday, because most of my work needs to be done today, all the way leading up to those games. And I think that's part of it. And getting the buy-in from everybody, all involved.
So looking at this week, what do you know about this trophy and this rivalry?
Yeah, Battle of the Bones. Obviously, Jonah, you've been working out. You probably can lift that trophy. I can't. It's very, very heavy. I'd probably blow out my back. It's kind of cool because, like I've told you guys, when I came to Memphis, you hear about the history of the game, the rivalries, and you appreciate some of the former players, and people talk about, hey, we went down to Birmingham when they came up here. And so, I just know it's a unique part of it, and I always appreciate anything that's part of our past. We're not going to dive into it on our improvement this week and getting ready for the game. But it's a neat facet to be able to add to this, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully we can bring that heavy trophy back with us on the bus ride back. But
You designated like 4 guys who are going to have to lift it up if you win?
yeah, 4 or 5. I tell you what, I'm not strong enough to lift it myself too. Yeah, we'll designate some people. Maybe we can throw it in your car on the way back, Mark, if we find a way to win the game.
I'm gonna see him lift it.
Brandon Thomas played, obviously, you just talked about Blake Watson
Yeah.
today, but is that something we can expect to see move forward, Brandon Thomas?
Yeah, look, we know what Blake was capable of, and we've seen him do a great job all season. And then you guys have heard me gush about Sutton Smith and his capabilities. I think we're seeing Sutton line up all over the field more for us, and that's been able to do some things. The creativity of the staff to be able to do. He's such a weapon. Obviously, had a nice kickoff return. We're going to continue to have high expectations for Sutton on special teams. And then Brandon's a name, right, that you guys have heard about over the years. And man, and it's the ups and downs of college football. But we've stuck alongside Brandon. He's stuck alongside us this whole ride. You've seen him some on special teams, but I think he's a guy that we can trust to go into a game and carry the load if we need to.
Has Jay kind of fallen out of the rotation at the moment?
Jay and I had some discussions. I think a lot of it goes on. We still have got great faith in Jay Ducker, and just kind of figuring out what's the best for him in the program. But no, Jay's still part of what we do on a day-to-day. Obviously, a super intelligent kid that's had a lot of success at the collegiate level, and we still have got huge expectations with Jay moving forward.
So if the game were today, would be Sutton Smith 1, Brandon Thomas 2 in your depth chart?
Well, I have not seen Blake this morning. I'm sure he's been around it, so to be determined on that. But look, if we were to go out there, I think if for whatever reason Blake can't go, full faith in Sutton Smith being the guy.
Ryan, is it still possible to have, as you just
Understanding that, man, there's no margin for error whether you're playing Bethune-Cookman, UAB, Tulane. Like, you've got to go out there and find ways to execute. And I think our guys understand that. And so I've got to set that tone, right, when they come in the building tomorrow morning, like, man, this is it. And not because of the possibilities of what may or may not come in 8 weeks or 7 weeks, whatever it may be, because this is the opportunity for us to get to 5-2, but reality just to get to 1-0. And I think that's the message I've got to frame, and our guys have got to buy into it, and I think they will.
Along those lines, UAB made something of an unorthodox hiring Trent Dilfer. What did you make of the hire when it happened, and what have you seen from him, from his team here through 5 games?
Yeah, Trent and I were talking about. I believe. No, you guys, Jonah will send me a text later to research it. But I think we had the opportunity towards the end of his, obviously a Super Bowl champ, first round pick career, coached against someone, later in his career and early in mine, and but then having the opportunity, he was a head coach in our great state out in Nashville, so a little bit of that, and then
You'd recruited some of his guys a little
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I think he was withholding him because he knew what job he was going to get. No, so you always so much respect because even and I don't watch a ton of TV, but even as an analyst, I mean, people would remark about how wonderful he was and how inquisitive he was and what a great. Clearly, if you're a first round quarterback in the NFL or the ability to play that long, like you know what's going on, and so he's got a great mind, and I always say this: what's considered a out of the box thought on hiring coaches nowadays, right? Like, I mean, you got a former CEO who was an analyst at Michigan's, another coach in our conference. I'll just say this: between the head coach of Charlotte and the head coach of Trent Dilfer, they don't even need salaries. I mean, they're both made plenty of money in their careers prior to being head coaches. That's a lot of stress for those guys that may not need it. But no, I've got great respect for Coach Dilfer. He's a guy that we were finally able to do our coaches meetings in person rather than Zoom. It's really hard to get to know a new guy during COVID over Zoom. Like, I'm not going to click the thumbs up button like, hey, buddy, how are you? What you having for lunch over there across the country? A chance to interact with him, and he's got a wonderful personality. Look, he's going to do a great job there. Birmingham and the state of Alabama are great recruiting grounds. We've had a lot of players come from that area, and look, he'll get them going, and he does it the right way. And I'm looking forward to a great battle with him for many years.